Hey guys, welcome back to another ESO video. Today we have another build video, this time for Magic at Warden. We're going to be looking at all the Warden kind of class skills, CP, the gear options, and all of that kind of stuff. This is primarily a VMA build for people who are looking to get the Flawless Conqueror achievement, which is no death, for easier, safer clears of VMA. For loot grinding, all that kind of stuff. And this is just generally a really strong solo build. This is also really good for group dungeons. For trials, I wouldn't recommend it like this. You want to adjust some gear, not gear, but skills and CP and all that kind of stuff. So the Warden is essentially a solo player's dream. It's got everything we need. It's got strong defense. It's got good damage. For this build, for what it does. It's got amazing damage mitigation and resistance, and the shield capacity is insane, and it's got monstrous self-healing as well. It's ridiculous. You're not going to die on a Warden. What I really like about Warden is they've got so much that they can bring to group content. You've got... Okay, wait, let's go on the other bar. So you've got Northern Storm, which is for 8 seconds. This does a big AoE that tracks, so you can run around and it'll follow you. For 8 seconds, your allies gain major protection, which reduces incoming damage by 30%, which is huge. It's really good. And you, as a magical warden, you're going to have this slotted on your front bar the majority of the time because of the 8% max magicka. So your allies get major protection, and this does some really good damage as well. It's not as good as a Destro ultimate, but it's quite powerful for what it is. The healing ultimate, Secluded Grove, this is 6 seconds. But the cost of the ultimate is only 75. So by the time that you've used this, within the 5 to 10 seconds, you've got another one of these ready. Especially if you take the morph where, I think it's like if they're under a certain amount of health, you get loads of ultimate or something like that. You get this a lot, so you can use it constantly. It's a really strong heal, and unlike the Templar's ultimate, healing ultimate, which is channeled and they're sort of stuck in place and they can't do anything, this is a ground based heal, so you can just put this down and then go and do something else, like spam your other healing and so on. We get another ground based heal. This isn't an ultimate, this is just a skill. What's this called? Budding Seeds. So this is really strong as well. Only one could be activated at a time. It heals for loads. You put it down, and after a few seconds it will pop, and allies can get a synergy out of this, which heals them. Or if you recast it again, it pops. So you just tap it again, and it pops again. So you can choose when to activate that. So you can just spam cast it. We get Ice Fortress. There's a couple of morphs of this. I've gone with Ice Fortress because this is better for solo, because you gain minor protection, which reduces incoming damage by 8% for 24 seconds. The other morph for this is Expansive Ice Cloak or something, and that just gives a massive radius of so your allies could be affected by it, kind of thing. This is brilliant in group content, because this just buffs everyone's defense, and even for solo this is just great to pop. So you come into a situation, you just pop that and then put your shield up as well. You're not going to die. So in group content, you know, if your tank dies, you can take the aggro if you've got a Frost Staff, and on this build we have a Frost Staff on our back bar. You know, if the tank dies, you can just take aggro with a Frost Staff, and then just use your shield and vines until the tank's back in the game. And if your healer goes down or is struggling to heal, don't be afraid about throwing down some of the heals that you've got. You know, that's what they're there for. Don't worry about people commenting saying, "Oh, you're a DPS, you're not doing your job." Like, you know, you have as a warden, we have these skills, we have these heals, and we have a Frost Staff. We're frost based kind of thing. You know, at the end of the day, people may judge you that you're not playing a certain way like meta, but you know, you've done your part in keeping that tank alive, or you've kept that healer alive. I mean, don't run. I'm not. What I'm trying to say is, in trials, don't run around spamming heals when you're a DPS. But if you're in just like a vet dungeon and your tank or healer goes down, you know, you use the skills that you have. That's what they're there for, and you're going to probably save the group in that situation. So, in terms of gear, we're using 3 Moon Dancer, Aether's fine here, or Willpower is actually quite a good set here as well. There's not a huge difference, but if you've got Moon Dancer to push Max Magicka, go with that, because just like with the Necroblade build I've done, we're pushing Max Magicka on this build as well, as much as we can. We're using 5-piece Necropotence, and that gives you magic, and all the way through, and the 5-piece gives you 4k max magic. That's when you have a pet active, and we will have a pet active all the time. We're using 2 Ice Heart for the Undaunted set. So try for the Undaunted passives, try to go with 1 heavy, 1 medium. I've only got 1 heavy and 1 light, and I think it's like infused on one of them. But yeah, anyway, this set adds critical, which is nice because Warden's crit is quite low anyway. And the second piece, when you deal critical damage, you have a 20% chance to gain a damage shield for roughly 10k. And this does frost damage as well. It's not like Groftar or anything crazy like that, but it's quite reasonable when you've got your buffs up and stuff. So that's quite nice. For our staffs, we're using Maelstrom Ice Staff sharpened back, and Lightning sharpened front. You don't need a Maelstrom staff sharpened. You don't need a Maelstrom staff at all. If you do have a Maelstrom staff in any trait, use it for the back bar, as long as you're not on that bar too much. If you got sharpened, then use that as well, instead of, rather. Next patch, I'll do a video on stuff next patch probably. But yeah, we want the lightning staff for the front bar because it's just insanely powerful, but we'll get into that. Okay, for the skills, on the back bar we've got Blue Betty. This restores Magicka over 25 seconds. The main reason why we're using this is for the major sorcery, which increases your spell damage by 20% over 27 seconds. And this removes a negative effect each time you cast it. And each time you cast this, it resummons, so in your animal passives, you're going to get a free heal, but I'll explain that in a bit. So, we've got Bird of Prey here. These 2 spots here are your 2 kind of flex spots, which you can use whatever you want. But we're using Bird of Prey because this gives you major expedition, increasing your movement speed by 30% over 10 seconds. This also increases your stamina recovery for 10 seconds by 20%. The main reason why we're using this is really for the increased damage done by 8% for 10 seconds. So when you drop an ultimate, use this as well, and it will buff that ultimate by 8%. It's not really worth it too much on your basic rotation, but it's good for ultimates to increase the damage, which I'll explain in a bit as well. This is a good movement buff for VMA. So normally when you're running around in VMA or wherever, you're going to be wasting stamina. It's just going to make your stamina run out. But by using Bird of Prey, you know, we're going to get that movement speed, and it's only going to cost a small amount of Magicka, and our stamina could be saved then. So saved for things like break freeze or dodge rolls or blocks and things like that. So this is really useful. Our other spot here, we've got Ice Fortress, which gives you massive protection, essentially, damage resistance. Gives you minor protection, which increases your damage, reduces your incoming damage by 8% for 24 seconds. And it gives you major ward and major resolve, which increases your physical resistance and spell resistance by 5280 for 24 seconds. Both of them. So minor protection for 24 seconds and the wards for 24 seconds. So that's great. We're using Blockade, which is our main dot. Our main kind of damage over time. We're using Winter's Revenge, which is our other dot. So those are going to be combined. For our ultimate, we're using Icy Rage. Now, the thing with this is the Fiery Rage ultimate, when you're using a Fire Staff, it gives you 10% increased damage. And the Thunder Staff gives you... where is this? Let me just show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so right here, Elemental Rage. Depending on the staff you have equipped, it's going to change the effect. So with a Fire Staff, we're going to gain increased damage by 10%. Thunderous Rage, which is a Lightning Staff, gives you increased duration by 2 seconds. So the Fire Rage is probably the strongest. Thunderous Rage is very close to it. Icy Rage immobilizes enemies for 3 seconds. Now, that in itself seems pretty useless. But the thing is with the Warden is through our Winter's Embrace passives, we gain... There it is, Piercing Cold. Increase your magic and frost damage by 6%. So we're getting 6% extra damage anyway on frost. So it's not a major setback having this ultimate. I mean, if you really want to have like Fiery Rage, go ahead, use a Fire Staff or something. Okay, for the front bar, we've got Living Trellis. Okay, so this, for 10 seconds, when you activate this, each time you take a hit, you heal for roughly, hang on, let me just... Right, so you heal for roughly 2.5k each time you get hit. This can only occur once every second, but every time you get hit, you get 2.5k heal. Now, when the vines expire, be it because of the 10-second duration, or on a recast, you're going to get roughly a 6k heal, or 5.8. Now, the thing about this is, when you're with a friend, your ally might get this buff. But if you're solo, you're always going to get this kind of buff. So, you know, you'll be the one who's protected. The recast of this gives you that kind of roughly 6k heal, and it's an instant heal, and you can just spam cast this. It's really similar to the Dragon Knight's Searing Strike, or whatever it is, the claw, basically. So, like the Dragon Knight, when you claw them, and then the enemy's got the dot on them, and you wait for, say, 10 seconds, and then you get the heal. If you recast it on them, you get the heal instantly. This is the same thing, except it's just not like a claw thing. So, in combination with your shield in VMA, keeping this up is just, it's God mode. You won't die from it. It's ridiculous. And the good thing about it is, while this is up, the hits you take probably aren't enough to out heal the damage you take in VMA. But if you have your shield up first, even if your shield takes that damage, you're going to get the small heals. And if you're still struggling, just spam cast it to get the big heal. So we've got Inner Light, slotted for max magicka by 5%, and our spell crit on the front bar. Don't need it on the back bar, it's pointless. Just keep it on the front bar. We got Harness Magicka, which gives you a massive shield. This is because our max magicka is so high because of Necropotence. And we've got points in our CP into the shield stuff. So I'll go into that in a bit. But essentially it just gives you a massive shield for 6 seconds, and when you take spell damage, you get magicka back. So we got Fletcher Infection. Just having this slotted gives us 2% flat damage on our on damage. This generates ultimate every 8 seconds as well when you cast it. So at least cast this every 8 seconds. Because it should be generating ultimate. I don't know why it's not. Okay, activating an animal companion ability grants you 4 ultimates. This effect has a cooldown of 8 seconds. So every 8 seconds, just make sure you're popping this out, and it should be giving you ultimate, unless Cinemax isn't doing their job. Okay. So we've got Crushing Shock as well. You don't need this The reason why this is slotted because we need a destruction staff ability on the front bar. The reason why. Destruction staff. I don't know where. Okay, ancient knowledge. Depending on the staff you have equipped, you get different effects. On a front bar, we've got a lightning staff. This increases your damage done with area of effect abilities by 8%, as long as you have a destruction staff ability slotted. So, the reason why lightning staff is because, you know, all of this kind of stuff's AoE, and then we're just going in with a heavy attack on the front bar, and everything is dying. It's dying so quick, it's unbelievable. But yeah, crushing shock, because we needed a destruction staff ability, and crushing shock's great for the later rounds of VMA. If you're confident enough to stop the guys who shoot big fireballs, go with force pulse. This is really being used for the interrupt, because this crushing shock interrupts people, interrupts casters like the bow and arrow dudes and stuff. And for the ultimate we have yeah, Northern Storm, which I've already kind of explained, but the main reason why is because of the 8% max magicka while slotted, and the rest speaks for itself. We don't really usually cast this ultimate, we always cast Icy Rage. But you could cast this if you want. It does good damage. It does really good damage. Okay, so for CP, right, we have 75 in Sagacity, 75 in Arcanist. The reason why 75 is because 100% gives you 100 points gives you 15%. With just 1% less, which makes 14, we're at 75 points. So if you, rather than having 100 here, if you keep them at 75, you get 1% less, but you're gaining 25 points. So then you can put that into like stamina recovery or health recovery, break free, dodge roll, whatever you want. So we've got 75, 75. I've just chucked 56 into stamina recovery just to help that out a bit. 4 in there for whatever reason. So for the red tree, we've got 16 in here, which gives us 10%. The reason why we got that in Expert Defender is a lot of the casters in VMA launch kind of light and heavy attacks. So we're talking about the arrow guys, you know, some of the spell casters and stuff. They all kind of count as like light and heavy attacks. So this kind of gives us a little bit of resistance to that. Especially considering some of these arrow people, you know, if you get hit with a couple of arrows, it can one-shot you. You know, 10% off that combined with our shield is really good. So we've got 81 points into Bastion, wherever it is. This puts us at 24%. Now this combined with our max magicka for shield strength, it's essentially like God mode. I mean, this setup on Magnite Blade was essentially what got me my flawless. It's the same thing here. It's like the bread and butter of like this build and that Necroblade build I've done. It's so strong. It doesn't seem that strong, but believe me, at least put it at like 20%, because it's so good. I've gone for 24%. So we got the rest is all roughly sort of 10% and 8% and stuff. So we've got 43 in here, which is 10% of Elemental Defender, 32 on Hardy, which gives us 8%. You don't really need too much in Hardy because anything that's close to you will die, and the poison damage is usually stuff from like round 7 VMA, which you can shield through. 18 into Thick Skinned, which gives us 8%. That's really for the dot at the end of round 9, the final boss where the crystals are. We got 20 into Ironclad, which gives us 9%. So with the blue tree, we don't really need 75 into Thaumaturge. One route to go is the off-balance route, and it's really strong. Only really recently people are kind of paying attention to it. It's funny because one of the first people to ever notice this kind of stuff was Zionode on YouTube. You know, he was talking about it long before it even became a thing. But yeah, it's very strong. But for this build, it doesn't really proc enough for the 4%. For the 4 seconds of 10% extra damage. I think the damage went up actually, it was buffed. But yeah, either way, for this build, it doesn't proc enough. So we got 44 in here for 17%. We've got 15% in Master Arms, which is 37 points. You probably don't need that much. I did this just to buff the damage of Crushing Shock and your light attacks. I think it affects heavy attacks as well. I'm not too sure. But yeah, we got 15% into there. 16 into Staff Expert for the light and heavy attack damage. Before I was going with quite a lot in here, but you really probably don't need that much. Around 5 to 10% is a good spot. Okay, so we have 56 in Elemental Expert, which gives us 12%. You can adjust here. You can adjust all of this really, but this is where I found like a decent spot. So 12% into Elemental Expert. Any higher is you're going to miss out damage from these two. So 56 there. 20 into Spell Erosion, which gives us like roughly 2k penetration. Maybe a bit less would be good, but I found this to be quite nice. Elfborn, we've got 15%, which is 37 points. So adjust these as you see fit, but this, to me, it feels right at the moment. If I was going to adjust anything, I'd probably take a little bit out of spell penetration and a little bit out of Master at Arms, and probably put them back into Elemental Expert just to get a bit more on the frost damage. So that's essentially that. So for gear options, obviously we're using Necropotence, but other options you have is Ysgramor's whatever it is. Let's have a quick look. I'll put it up on the screen anyway. Okay, Ysgramor's Birthright. So that's quite a good set. It works based on your cold damage abilities and stuff like that. So let's have a quick look again. So yeah, adds some spell damage to your cold damage abilities. 386 on mine. Now, if you're using this set, it's not bad. You're going to have a DPS drop. Maybe it will be buffed in the future by ZeniMax. So if you do have it or you're going to farm it, hold on to it because it might be good in future patches. The Winterborn set is actually pretty good. You get this from VMA. And what this does is the 5-piece procs this ice pillar. We did some testing on this, me and my friend Sin, and you can see that it procs a lot. Now, if you're using a lot of cold and frost damage abilities, you know, there's more chance that this is going to proc. And this has no cooldown on it, minus its uptime, of course. There's no cooldown. So if you combine this with Ice Heart, you know, it's pretty strong. And Ice Heart, the monster set, procs the Ice Pillar as well. Even your Ice Reflect, the shield, where is it? Let me get it. Yeah, even your shield, your Ice Shield, Simmering Shield, and there's another more for this as well. Even this procs it. So launching back, keep in mind I was launching back Ice Staff kind of casts, but even the reflex on this can proc the Ice Pillar. So overall it's a pretty strong set, but it doesn't quite beat Necropotence. It still falls slightly below Necropotence. It's still a great option to look out to get alongside the Ysgramor's Birthright. We did a little DPS test, like just kind of rough numbers, nothing like overly, you know, hammering it with all the stuff. On a rough DPS test, Sin was pulling 26k, or was it 27? Roughly 27k on the Winterborn Ice Heart combination, and he was putting about 31k on the Necropotence Ice Heart combination. So again, Necropotence is the best in slot for Magical Warden as a whole, and for this build as well. But keep in mind, ZeniMax are always buffing and nerfing sets, so those two sets are some great sets to look out for. Winterborn from VMA chests, and Ysgramor's Birthright, which you can farm in the Rift, I think. It's an overland set. Okay, a couple of things that I want to mention is the Fletcher infection and some other stuff. So with the Fletcher infection, there's two morphs. You've got Growing Swarm, which launches out, and then when the effect ends, it infects loads of other targets, and that's good because it spreads to loads of people. And each time the effect ends, you get a heal from that. So one way to get some insane self-healing is just to put it on one enemy, and then even if he dies or something, it will spread to loads of enemies, and all of those enemies that are affected, when the effect ends, you're going to get healing from it. But the point being, with this morph, Fletcher Infection, every other cast deals 50% damage. Now, the way that this actually works is, right now around our hands you can see we've got like a little leaf thing. That's the buff. It's in our character sheet, Fletcher Infection bonus damage. So when we cast this, there you go, we've lost the buff, and that does an extra 50% damage. So again, as soon as you cast it, we've got the buff back on our hands, and cast again, it will be gone. So you can cast this on one enemy and run away and do something else, and you're going to keep that damage thing ready. So when you're on your next cast, you're going to get 50% more damage, and you can run all over the map for hours on end, and this buff will not go, and then you can cast it. The only way it's going to disappear is if you travel to another instance. So between VMA stages, if you travel to another area, that kind of thing. Going through doors in trials, I think, gets rid of it as well. But it's a cool thing to kind of know that this you can you can store this ready. It's like right now it's ready, it's stored, it's ready. So if there's an enemy over there, you know, I'm ready to put it out with 50% more damage. So if you're about, say that guy's over there is a boss or something, and there's a guy over here, blah blah blah, kill kill kill, and then we put Fletcher on him to get the buff, and then he's dead, and then so when we're ready to do the boss, we can get that 50% more damage along with all of our other stuff. So keep that in mind, that that's how the buff works, kind of thing. What's the other things? Okay, so yeah, the Warden's health. You may notice the Warden's health with food is roughly 15k. Now, I've only got one Undaunted because I'm wearing one heavy, one light. I should be wearing one medium, one heavy. If you've got two Undaunted bonus things, your health's going to be a bit bigger than mine is at the moment. So don't worry. A lot of people are put off by the fact, oh, Warden's only got 15k health, even with the food. It's not very good. But when you get your Undaunted up, you don't have to worry about that anymore. And another thing is, with Living Trellis, anytime you heal with a Warden, you heal yourself. Your max health is increased by 10%. I'll give an example of this. I'll probably put it on screen or something. Essentially, if you cast this and take damage, and you've got the heal, your health is going to go up by 10%. You know, 10% max health, and that's going to cover, like, you know, it's going to push you way beyond 15k health or whatnot. And another thing I wanted to explain about Living Trellis in itself is there's a passive called where is it? Accelerated growth. Okay, so when healing you or an ally under 40% health with a green balance ability, gain major mending, increasing your healing done by 25% for 3 seconds. So an effective way to use Living Trellis on yourself in VMA or solo, whatever, is to kind of not wait until you're low, so you'll just die. But if you're quite low health, cast this, and when you get the heal because you're low health, the first heal, what I'm saying is, when the enemy hits you, when Living Trellis is active, you're going to get a heal. So if you've got low health and you get that first heal because they've hit you, then instantly recast it, because between them 3 seconds, between them last 3 seconds, you've got major mending, increasing your healing done by 25%. So your low health, wait until you're low health, have this up, and as you're low health and you get hit, you get the first heal, you'll get major mending, and then instantly recast, and you'll be healed straight to full. It's not the best heal in the game, It is definitely one of the best self heals in the game. It's so strong. Okay, with the Betty as well. This is free. This doesn't cost anything to cast. So with our animal companions, okay, there you go. When one of your animal companions is killed or unsummoned, you restore 1260 health. Yeah, it's a small heal, but it's free. This is free. So if you're in VMA and you're taking damage, or you've just got a bit of health chipped off at the end of the round or something, put your shield on, and just heal up with the Betty. It doesn't cost anything. But keep in mind that when you're restoring magicka through the Betty, it's only when that beam is touching you. So if you're spamming the heal, you're not restoring magicka at all. No magicka is being restored, apart from what you have at base value. You have to wait until the beam hits, and then that's how you get your magicka recovery from it. So keep that in mind in terms of sustain. What else do I need to explain? Okay, I'll explain the shield thing. So I explained this more in depth on my Necroblade build video, but I'll go over it really quickly. With a pet active, it procs our Necropotence 5p set. Okay, which gives us roughly 4k magicka. With that, our magicka's at 50k, 51k roughly. And with 51k max magicka, our shield strength, let me cast it again in case it runs out. Our shield strength for harness magicka is like 21k, 21.5k, which is just, it's ridiculous for harness magicka. It's so big. It's like hardened ward for a Sorc. So that massive shield strength combined with living trellis is just going to keep you, it's just god mode. It's literally, I went through VMA like once or twice and got flawless, and it's because of that combination of living trellis and max magicka and the ridiculous shield strength. You know, it's brilliant. Was there some other things I missed? No, I think that's essentially it. Okay, there's one more thing. Okay, so in animal companions, okay, advanced species, it increases your damage done by 2% for each animal companion ability slotted, and we've got a 2% at the moment. Now, if you can think of better places to lay your skills out, go for it. Like, because one of the initial way I had this was I had like Betty on the front bar, Bird of Prey on the front bar. I tried to front bar as many animal companion abilities, because each time you do that you get a 2% kind of flat damage increase, which is huge. It's so underestimated how strong it is. Like, for example, Bird of Prey on its own gives you 8% for 10 seconds. And it's more of a stamina ability, but this is great to drop, to use when you're dropping ultimates. Now, if you have that cast, and you've got like 3 or 4 animal companion abilities, say you've got 3 of them, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, you've got 6% with an extra 8%. You know, it's just ridiculous the amount of damage that you can kind of stack, like the kind of flat damage passively. It's insane. Unfortunately, I don't really have, I've got 1 animal companion ability. But if you can adjust this, you know, put the birds there, put destructive clench there if you prefer, if you can get your heal on your back bar. Personally, due to safety and making it as comfortable as I can, I had to have the shield on the front bar, the heal on the front bar. You know, you need an light on the front bar. I kept Fletcher Infection there because I like to point and cast with the L1, R1 buttons, and I needed Crush bar. So if you can work around the layout of the skills, please do go for it, and try and chuck as many animal companion abilities as you can on the front bar, because that's going to make your damage just skyrocket so much. But even without that, the damage on this build is insane. If you got you don't even need a Maelstrom staff, but with a Maelstrom staff back bar, you just put the Wall of Elements down on its own and just heavy attack, and it rips through enemies. It's just ridiculous. So that's essentially the build. I'll probably post up an example just after this section, or maybe in another video. Okay. So Just going to give a quick sort of play style demonstration just of how you'd play this, or one of the ways. This is how I play it anyway. I'm not too sure what world boss this is, but we're going to go and kill it. Hopefully nobody else is around. Hopefully the boss is even. Yeah, okay, the boss is here. Okay, so the boss is there. We're just going to go in. We're going to keep our what is it called? The Betty up. Whoa, are they coming in me? We're going to keep the Betty up. We're going to use Bird of Prey for maneuverability, and we're going to keep Ice Fortress up along with Shield and Living Trellis just for defense. And we're going to keep heavy attacking because that's going to do most of our damage, and heavy attacking gets our resources back. And we're going to do that while our dots are down. I'll do this without Maelstrom staff, so you can see the damage is. You don't need a Maelstrom staff for this. So we'll use. Make sure your weapons are golded, by the way. We'll use. I'll use a purple ice staff, so you can see the example. All right. Heavy attack isn't working. Oh, don't tell me they've. Look at how quick the ads are dying. They're going down so quick. The boss hasn't even really touched my health. And the boss has touched my health. But I mean, look at how quickly it's healing up again when our shield's on it. Just keeping the heavy attacks up. I'm going to put a shield back on and Living Trellis, because we need to get that healing. Quite low on resources. Okay, we're not going to drop our ultimate just yet. We're going to wait until we've got a bit more magic. Just going to draw some magic in through heavy attacking. And we're going to pop Bird of Prey after we've put our dots down. As soon as we've done Bird of Prey, we're going to drop the ultimate. And we're just going to sit here in heavy attack with all that. Wait until the whole duration's gone. Okay, put your dots back down. Any defense you need. Again, this is taking a little bit longer because the damage isn't as high, but yeah, the boss didn't touch us, essentially. Okay, so that's like the basics. It's a bit sloppy on that one, but just got to make sure that your shield's up, Living Trellis is up. You know, you got like the Fletcher on, you got your main 2 damage. You know, Bird of Prey for moving around and 8% increased damage, and keep your Betty up as well. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoy this build video. If you're going for the Flawless Conquer achievement, yeah, just keep going for it. Like, all it takes is that one time for the enemy to kind of hit you in a rough way, and then you're dead, kind of thing. Don't let it like discourage you. Like this build, you will find this build to be very, very, very strong and very defensive, but it's not going to stop them kind of moments in VMA where you do die. It won't stop them, but it will make them a lot less frequent. I have either it's already out or it will be out soon at some point, a full VMA guide going through all of the stages of Maelstrom, so you can avoid all them kind of annoying situations. But for the majority of you probably won't need it. But my channel and my content is really aimed at people who are kind of learning and stuff, so that's that. But yeah, go, if you haven't got it already, go and get your Flawless Conqueror title now for this build. It's just ridiculously easy. And if you don't, I hope you just enjoy and have fun with this build. Yeah, thanks for the support recently as well, to like subscribers and people who've been watching and commenting. Like, the support means a lot. Thanks for that. Yeah, take care.